Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. Shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where we are relaxing as per usual. Just had a nice stream, playing a bit of, what's it called? Is this seat taken? Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how great it is to have a mouse which does not double click anymore. Like, immediately I winced. Not winced, but I was just like, ugh, as I want to rename some of these videos, knowing that felt like it was gonna double click, but it did not. But hello everyone, right now in Fawnhallow at 6:06 PM on Sunday, March 8th, 2020. But yeah, we played a little bit of Is the Seat Taken. It's really, really nice and also very strange at the same time to not boot up a stream and also be like, okay, I'm playing one fixed game. Not that Blueprints is a bad game or anything, it's a genuinely fantastic game, but still, it's so weird, or feels so weird nowadays, to be like, oh, we don't have to do that anymore. We have other games of which we can play, other short, small hand experiences. But yeah, it's a very cute, fun puzzle game. It's not particularly challenging, and there's not. I mean, there is a certain amount of like puzzly element to it, but I was actually thinking about this. It's like, I actually think it makes it quite difficult to make it sort of puzzly, and it's not meant to be as puzzly. It's meant to feel quite sort of loose and sort of, you sort of just vibe out the game. At least that's how it feels like it's meant to be played in my mind, but I don't know. We have a very nice thumbnail art coming along for the stream. Definitely is gonna, feels like a really nice one. I feel like I mean, it's a good sign that almost like every single time I do a new stream thumbnail art, I'm like, this one feels like a good one, this one feels like a banger. I don't know what the last one I did which didn't feel like a, I guess the January one didn't feel like a banger, to be honest. I couldn't quite get the concept down that I wanted. But a lot of them like have felt pretty good. Like when I draw them, I'm like, oh yeah, this feels great. Maybe I just like drawing, who knows? Who'd have thunk it, you know? Anyway, I'm taking time now to do the meta stuff and actually upload this video. Schedule it for 6 PM. Happy International Women's Day, by the way. What are you meant to do today? I don't know. I guess celebrate womanhood in whatever way that makes sense to you. But yeah. Apart from that, what else am I going to talk about? I don't really know, to be honest. I'm making my way through it. Okay, this is interesting, you know, and will be a sort of conversational start-off point. Start-off point? Starting point is I'm playing through Star Rail right now. I'm playing through the Penacony quest, the finality quest. I'm very near the end. I think I'm on the last part of it or something. How do I feel about it? It's strange, is probably the way I'd put it. Biakuaz. Yeah, it's very strange because I played through Amphorius. I loved Amphorius. Like, I loved its overarching plot, its lore, how everything ties together. The only downside I would say to Amphorius is like it's incredibly flowery, like prose, I suppose, and it often to an unnecessary degree, I would say. Well, maybe it sounds a lot better in Chinese or something. There was a lot of times I felt in Amphorius where I was like, you don't need to say all of this. Like, I already got the point. you already got your emotional impact. But at the same time, I love it, you know. Even if it is like that, I am willing to look past it to still vibe out with the entire series. The Penacony one is very, very weird. Biakuaz. It's sort of like, I'm not sure what's going on, really. And it's very weird, which is also something that I am sort of being quite conscious about, is the fact that a lot of the story in this one is very, or has a very strong possibility of basically being memory altered, essentially. There's like a huge plot point in this is how much memory altering is going on, because there are factors at play, there are factions at play who do a lot of memory modification, which is interesting because I mean, cremators are a very interesting concept. or one of the memory factions, but it makes it very difficult to engage with a story, I think, in a way that necessarily anticipated us to engage with it, because there's a lot of times I'm like, okay, like, I don't know if this is a real story or not, or if this is a real memory. Like, is this true? Is this not true? I can't tell. It's getting very, very confusing at this point. It also does feel like there's still a lot of plot holes from it. I can't really tell. Like, it's been, I don't know if it's a plot hole, it's just been so long since I played Penacony, because I genuinely can't remember a lot of the Penacony plot all too well. And unfortunately, Ashikai, my go-to Star Rail summarizer lore YouTuber, has not covered, I think, this Penacony mission. I don't think so, at least. Ashikai, Vidalia, which is a real shame. But I think that's totally fair. Like, she doesn't need to cover every single one. But I am getting very confused during this entire story. But it's basically because a lot of it is basically kind of like a retcon. Whether it's a good or... like, because retcon, I think, carries a very negative connotation. Where it's like, oh, it's a retroactive... what's it called? Retro continuity or something? Where it's basically you go back and correct things which were incorrect before. Or go back to things which were conveyed one way and then say, oh, that was actually wrong, it was actually conveyed this way. Either forcefully so, or in this case, they actually interweave it into the actual lore. By basically having one of the factions being like, yeah, we basically implanted false memories. But it does make it very difficult, I think, to engage with. Which I'm very conscious about, because memory manipulation is like a big part of the D&D campaign. Like, why things have happened in certain ways is because of memory manipulation, which I'm also very sort of cautious about. In a way that I'm like, I don't want this to be something which truly messes things up. But like in one campaign, I think like memory manipulation plays a larger part, but they have a way to circumvent it essentially, and they have a lot of I've given them enough clues. Like the entire mystery, I suppose, was put together with us in mind, with the identification of being like, oh, there are discrepancies which don't line up. No, it's not like a seamless retcon essentially. It's basically like I go along and then we just like write over parts of it. So some of it doesn't add up, but a lot of the people don't have a full picture, but them as a adventuring party do have a full picture. So they have a full picture and be like, this doesn't make sense. What's going on here? And then they have their own magical means to sort of uncover it. The other campaign do have also some sort of like level of memory stuff going on. They haven't really fully found, I suppose, the scope of it, but it's not a key part of that campaign, I suppose, as much. Memories kind of are, but not like memory manipulation, I suppose, portion of it. It's not much straightforward, but they have stumbled across something which is a very, very wide scale, like it's so wide scale, sort of possible memory thing going on, which I think is fine, because it's also like that this is one major plot point engaged, rather than being every single little plot point could be manipulated in a way. That's my way of summarising it without giving away any spoilers. But yeah, I don't know, it's very interesting. Like, memory manipulation is a very interesting thing in fantasy, because it's genuinely a very spooky thing for it to happen in real life. I mean, like, it's definitely something which has, in my opinion, sort of... I was going to say sense of urgency, that's not the right way to put it, but like a sense of gravitas, I suppose, if it affects you in real life, right? Or anything somewhat even close to that. So it's not something you just sort of shrug past, I think. But in a fictional story, it's also like, oh, okay. It's just surprisingly common. In D&D 4, things to sort of have it, you know, like there's an enchantment branch of magic, which basically is this entire thing. Which just deals with sort of like memory manipulation and stuff, which is totally fine, I think. It's just more like, it makes it very interesting. How do you end up really dealing with that sort of thing in the context of his story? Because it's like, how do you engage with it, I suppose? I guess you would counter it as well, in a similar way, but it's also difficult. So yeah, I don't know. I guess you just need it in a fair way. I mean, it's like the way they talk about it with like, what is it called? The false hydra. Like, it's a very, very... I shouldn't say it's a very common D&D enemy, because it's actually genuinely not a very common D&D enemy, but it's a very common sort of like D&D story enemy, which seems like it leads into very interesting stories, and I'm much more hesitant, I think, in including it. Like, I considered like including it to be like, oh, this would be like an interesting sort of like one-off story, and maybe it would be, but also at the same time it does feel like it's rather frustrating to deal with as a player base, so I don't know. But yeah, what I'm certainly learning about it is that when there's this much memory manipulation going on in the story, it's really, really difficult to engage with. Because the thing that reminds me of is like in Heavy Rain. There's the spoilers for Heavy Rain, which is like a 20-year-old game almost at this point. It's not that old. I think it's a 10-year-old game. Let's see. Heavy Rain. 2016? No, it must be earlier. 2012, I'm going to say. 2010. Okay. 16-year-old game. Where basically, the game just straight up lies to you. Literal memory manipulation, I suppose. Where, spoilers, I suppose, the killer is Scott Shelby, the origami killer. But he has a scene where basically the video game straight up lies to you and just shows you a completely different thing from what events actually transpired, as a way to sort of like pull out the rug from underneath you and be like, whoa, check it out. You don't know what's happening, because how could you? we just lied to you the entire time, which is interesting, I would say, as a point of order for any type of game to really go that route. But yeah. And I suppose the reason it's so bad in that, but like these D&D false Hydra stories end up being like kind of interesting, is the fact that like obviously memory manipulation and this sort of just lying isn't just a bad narrative technique in that case. In D&D at least, there's like a precedent, I suppose, for memory manipulation to be a thing, right? So it doesn't catch you as off guard to be like, whoa, what on earth is going on? He said it. I hope it wouldn't. Maybe it would. Your mileage may vary. But it's just weird to think about, because it's like, how do you properly tell a story, I suppose, if memory manipulation is a thing? I mean, I guess it's probably in the same sort of vibe as an unreliable narrator, right? Like, how do you tell a story from an unreliable narrative? Well, I mean, the narrator is unreliable. You have to have enough points in there, like reactions from others that people can start to put together, like, oh, they're not telling us a full story. I wonder what story has the most famous unreliable narrator? Story? Famous unreliable narrator. American Psycho. Well, that's a pretty good one. The most famous and best examples of unreliable narrator. Okay, Lolita, that's true. Anything by Kazuo Ishiguro. Well, I do have one of those books, and Never Let Me Go is one I'm trying to read at the moment. Wuthering Heights, interesting. I don't even know who the narrator would be in Wuthering Heights. So I guess it's sort of like I don't know. It's just a different medium, and different narrative technique to portray this. Different technique which sort of messes with the plot in a way. I don't know. I mean, in part ways, again, I'm not saying Honkai Star Rail is going to have like the peak of storytelling of all time or anything. It's just it's a nice it's nice overlap between, you know, I like playing the game itself, I like the designs of the characters, and then liking the story that comes along with it at the same time. Never do I mean for it to be like this is peak literature or anything like that, but it's just a nice intersection of everything coming together, in my opinion. But it does mean it's, at least in my opinion this time, it's pretty confusing. I don't really know how to engage with any of it, mind you. But yeah. That is, by all accounts and purposes, a me problem though. So, not that bad. Not that bad a deal. Yar. What was there to say? I don't know. Memory manipulation. I don't know, like, because once... It's a sort of thing where, like, as soon as you introduce memory manipulation as a potential option for whatever story you're telling, it basically sort of like, the cat's out of the bag now. Anything is now possible. Without it being more explicitly, I suppose, what the story's about, like a form of gaslighting or something. It's just like, oh, well now anything could have happened because now you can't trust anything anymore. So how do you make that compelling, I suppose, from a storytelling perspective, which doesn't cheapen the audience's engagement with the story? I don't really know. That seems pretty difficult. A task which maybe I specifically am not up for, and I'm engaging with, but learning from. All the same. Oh my gosh, where's my mouse? Okay, here it is. It's like narrative gaslighting. Narrative gaslight. I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll see how we stick a landing. Because apparently, I have heard at least the story is pretty good, this Penacony finality quest. It's just, at the moment, I'm very confused because I'm just like, what's going on? Like, this is not... I guess it's also trying to fill in the blanks of, like, parts of the story before which weren't necessarily being told. And I guess because in some ways it's kind of different from what I expected, I'm also like, what's going on? But who knows? Anyway. Yeah. I don't know. Let me see this. Memory manipulation. Storytelling. Is there, like, discussion threads about it? Mind control, memory manipulation. How do they work in your world? Are they regulated? Short stories about mind uploading mental manipulation. I don't know. Because it might have a load of key parts coming together of like, oh, it makes sense. Because I think it's actually the different framing of this quest. There's framing of this quest, because it's meant to fill in the blanks, I suppose, of what the previous quest is. I feel like a lot of it's, I'm expecting it to be like, oh, listening to the story, this makes so much sense. This, like, explains so many things. Now I'm seeing, like, a different side of it. I think I'm just mostly confused because I don't remember the story well enough to be like, oh yeah, that was a mystery I had since that point. And I don't know, I guess in some ways it feels a bit unsatisfying when it's like, oh, this is what explains it. It's not something which, you know, you could like deduce or anything. It was like, oh, there's someone else here who was basically just changing all the memories. I mean, there are some great electric moments, I think, in the story quest. Vidalia and Black Swan's confrontations are fantastically fun, I think, but at the same time, I think there's a certain je ne sais quoi, which is making it difficult to engage with at the same time. Anyway, on that note, I guess I'll round this episode off here. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been dear darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.